The difference in having the helicopter to going by land could have meant he was dead or alive. It is as simple as that. Albie has a condition called hydrocephalus, which means water on the brain. So he can't get rid of the cerebral fluid. So he's had brain surgery to place a shunt inside his brain, which takes off the excess fluid and drains it down to his stomach. The night of the incident, Owen texted me from upstairs to say Albie was making a funny noise. I went upstairs expecting to tell him off and to say go back to sleep. But what I saw was something completely different. Albie was in full seizure, his arms and his legs jerking around, his eyes were right back to his head, he was foaming at the mouth. It was horrific, absolutely horrific.
Immediately called the ambulance because we're aware that seizures are a possibility with Albie's condition. This felt very out of control for us.
And that's when things started to get serious very quickly.
Very quickly.
The paramedics on the ambulance were able to do some basic intervention, but it was really clear he wasn't going to stop having this seizure. And that's when the discussion came that they needed to call for the air ambulance.
On the night of Albie's incident, we were called at about 20:50, so 10 to 9 in the evening, and told that there was a child that was having a seizure, and the ambulance crew that were with him were looking for some support because they had managed him with their standard protocols, giving sedation, but they were struggling because he was still seizing, at which point we dispatched by air to support Albie. It was about a 20-25 minute flight to get to Albie and land safely.
It was a relief that this extra help was coming, but also the fear of this is really serious now. This is not just a normal seizure, this is life-threatening now. There was no way we would have made it to hospital in time or anywhere without the hospital coming to us.
On opening the ambulance doors, we found Albie on the bed, fairly poorly, still unwell. And one of my first priorities was to try and gain a little bit of a handover from my ambulance service colleagues and find out what exactly had been done and what their main concerns were, but also to speak to Mum and try and reassure her that we were going to do everything we could for Albie. As a team and a crew at East Anglia Air Ambulance, we carry a whole emergency department resuscitation room in the back of the aircraft and in our kit bags. And we're able to give resuscitative care as well as the ongoing intensive care management of patients that we see. And for Albie, what that meant was we were able to give him some medications to try and stop him seizing, but also progress him to giving him an anaesthetic and putting him off to sleep in an induced coma, which allows the brain a chance to rest. And that's not something that the ambulance crews are able to deliver within their skill set, and it's something that we can bring to scene.
I think we were both emotional wrecks at that point because we couldn't even get to Albie really at that point because there were so many people around him, we could just touch his foot. That was the first time I think that we felt totally helpless as a parent. It's like everyone else completely took over and we just had to sit and watch. It was really hard.
Yeah. It's incredibly scary, and on top of that, obviously, we still had Owen to worry about, you know, who was, bless him, back in the house, really not knowing what was going on.
No.
One of the concerns with a child in Albie's situation that had seizures is that he had a build-up of fluid on the brain and the shunt potentially could have blocked. So what we don't want to do is leave that for any period of time to get worse. So in Albie's case, it was absolutely critical to get him to a centre that could deal with that. And in the East of England region, the neurosurgical centre is based at Addenbrooke's. So it wasn't just a priority to take him somewhere that could look after him from an anaesthetic point of view, but also a priority to get him somewhere where he could get the specialist care that he may need to unblock that shunt.
Addenbrooke's by road is easily 2.5 hours, and we could get there in 30 minutes.
If the shunt fails, he needs to be on the operating table within 4 hours.
Luckily, he didn't need any brain surgery. He has now been diagnosed with epilepsy, which is unfortunately quite common with his condition of hydrocephalus. But without them being able to come to us that night, being able to put him to sleep, being able to give him that medicine, being able to get us to the right hospital quickly,
I think
things would have been totally, we wouldn't be sat here telling you how amazing this helicopter and things are. We would be saying, oh, we didn't have that and we wish you had it, because we wouldn't have had Albie without it. He is such a character. He is quick-witted.
He's not afraid of
speaking his mind,
should we say?
But he's so funny and so cheeky with it. And if you ever need to know anything about Thomas, he's your guy.
Albie, he's a bit of a menace sometimes. I can say that, can I?
Yeah.
No one thinks they'll need the air ambulance, but when they do need it, it's essential, you know.
Albie is here. Our family is whole because of donations. He wouldn't be here, and I don't want to even think about what life would be like if he wasn't part of our family.